Hello, welcome to Noetry. Today I have a special topic in mind, the complete works of Stephen King. I'm just kidding. My buddy Adam gave me this for my birthday, and after getting this episode ready for y'all, I think I might start it. I've never read any of Stephen King's fiction, only his on writing. So I'm looking forward to cutting back and unwinding and checking this out. But before I do that, the actual topic, as chance would have it, are these little creatures right here. So if Egret wouldn't mind sitting still for an hour, hopefully this episode will not be quite that long. I've gotten some feedback that the show is boring, which is exactly what I'm going for. Thank you very much, Shahid. But hopefully it's been putting some of y'all to sleep and entertaining others. So without further ado, and you, we will begin with cats. First, some Mark Twain quotes about cats. I simply can't resist a cat, particularly a purring one. They are the cleanest, cunningest, and most intelligent things I know, outside of the girl you love, of course. And this is told by Mark Twain in Henry Fisher's book, Abroad with Mark Twain and Eugene Field. And he had a couple others I couldn't help but relate. One is an unused aphorism from Pudd'nhead Wilson, from his notes, I presume. Perfect independence of character is found in not one of God's creatures except the cat. 1 man in 10 millions creates it in himself, and it makes him as conspicuous as the Milky Way. But no cat is born without it. And also for Mark Twain's notebook, around 1894. Of all God's creatures, there is only one that cannot be made the slave of the lash. That one is the cat. If man could be crossed with the cat, it would improve man, but it would deteriorate the cat. And fear not, dog lovers, I will sometime soon have a dog episode. Although I don't know if my dogs will bother to come in and visit during it. So thank you, Egret, my one in-studio audience guest. So first, let's see. I guess first I'll read this Eleanor Farjeon poem titled Cats. Cats sleep anywhere, any table, any chair, top of piano, window ledge, in the middle, on the ledge, on the edge. Open drawer, empty shoe, anybody's lap will do. Fitted in a cardboard box, in the cupboard, with your frocks. Anywhere, they don't care. Cats sleep anywhere. Very true. And here's one by William Carlos Williams, titled simply The Poem. As the cat climbed over the top of the jam closet, first the right forefoot, carefully, then the hind stepped down into the pit of the empty flower pot. And now, let's read the definition of cat from, by now, a standard of this show, Ambrose Bierce's Devil's Dictionary. Cat, noun, a soft, indestructible automaton provided by nature to be kicked when things go wrong in the domestic circle. This is a dog, this is a cat, this is a frog, this is a rat. Run, dog, mew, cat, jump, frog, gnaw, rat. And now we'll read Pablo Neruda's Ode to the Cat. This time I won't inflict my Spanish on y'all. Oda aleli. Oh, that's the carnation. I was like, that's not cat. Oda al gato. This translated by Ken Krabbenhoft. I think I got some cat fur on me. There was something wrong with the animals. Their tails were too long, and they had unfortunate heads. Then they started coming together, little by little, fitting together to make a landscape, developing birthmarks, grace, pep. But the cat, only the cat, turned out finished and proud. Born in a state of total completion, it sticks to itself and knows what it wants. Men would like to be fish or fowl. Snakes would rather have wings, and dogs are would-be lions. Engineers want to be poets. Flies emulate swallows, and poets try hard to act like flies. But the cat wants nothing more than to be a cat, and every cat is pure cat, from its whiskers to its tail, from sixth sense to squirming rat, from nighttime to its golden eyes. Nothing hangs together quite like a cat. Neither flowers nor the moon have such consistency. It's a thing by itself, like the sun or a topaz, and the elastic curve of its back, which is both subtle and confident, is like the curve of a sailing ship's prow. The cat's yellow eyes are the only slot for depositing the coins of night. O little emperor without a realm, conqueror without a homeland, diminutive parlor tiger, nuptial sultan of heavens roofed in erotic tiles, when you pass in rough weather and poise 4 nimble paws on the ground, sniffing, suspicious of all earthly things, because everything feels filthy to the cat's immaculate paw, you claim the touch of love is in the air. O freelance household beast, arrogant vestige of night, lazy, agile, and strange, O fathomless cat, secret police of human chambers and badge of vanished velvet. Surely there is nothing enigmatic in your manner. Maybe you aren't a mystery after all. You're known to everyone. You belong to the least mysterious tenant. Everyone may believe it. Believe their master, owner, uncle, or companion to a cat. Some cat's colleague, disciple, or friend. But not me. I'm not a believer. I don't know a thing about cats. I know everything else, including life and its archipelago, seas and unpredictable cities, plant life, the pistol and its scandals, the pluses and minuses of math. I know the Earth's volcanic protrusions of the scarred Cordilleras. I banged at the door. Oh, I skipped. Forgive me. I know the Earth's volcanic protrusions and the crocodile's unreal hide, the fireman's unseen kindness, and the priest's blue atavism. But cats I can't figure out. My mind slides on their indifference. Their eyes hold ciphers of gold. It's interesting to me, some of the similarities of that poem and our next poem. This one by the android Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite shows. If you can't tell by now, I like reading things that are my favorite on this show, which is why I'm not too worried about my subscriber or view counts. This is called Ode to Spot, written by Data to his cat Spot in 2369 in the Schisms episode of TNG, the 6th season, 5th episode. Ode to Spot. Felis catus is your taxonomic nomenclature, an endothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature. Your visual, olfactory, and auditory senses contribute to your hunting skills and natural defenses. I find myself intrigued by your subvocal oscillations, a singular development of cat communications that obviates your basic hedonistic predilection for a rhythmic stroking of your fur to demonstrate affection. A tail is quite essential for your acrobatic talents. You would not be so agile if you lacked its counterbalance. And when not being utilized to aid in locomotion, it often serves to illustrate the state of your emotion. Oh, Spot, the complex levels of behavior you display connote a fairly well-developed cognitive array. And though you are not sentient, Spot, and do not comprehend, I nonetheless consider you a true and valued friend. And now, wow, what a book this is. Any fans of the musical Cats will recognize some of these lines. This is T.S. Eliot's Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. We won't read the whole thing, but I think I'm going to read more than half of them. There are about 10 or 12 poems in here, and they are gems, truly. And I have never seen the musical, but I obviously have heard the songs many times at karaoke and in other venues. And so I would presume most of these lines were used in the musical. I know that some of the stuff like with Macavity certainly is. So this is the first poem in the book, titled The Naming of Cats. The naming of cats is a difficult matter. It isn't just one of your holiday games. You may think at first I'm as mad as a hatter when I tell you a cat must have 3 different names. First of all, there's the name that the family use daily, such as Peter, Augustus, Alonzo, or James, such as Victor or Jonathan, George or Bill Bailey, all of them sensible, everyday names. There are fancier names if you think they sound sweeter. Some for the gentlemen, some for the dames, such as Plato, Admetus, Electra, Demeter, but all of them sensible, everyday names. But I tell you, a cat needs a name that's particular, a name that's peculiar and more dignified. Else how can he keep up his tail perpendicular, or spread out his whiskers, or cherish his pride? Of names of this kind, I can give you a quorum, such as Munkostrap, Quaxo, or Coricopat, such as Bombalurina, or else Jellilorum, names that never belong to more than one cat. But above and beyond, there's still one name left over, and that is the name that you never will guess, the name that no human research can discover, but the cat knows himself and will never confess. When you notice a cat in profound meditation, the reason, I tell you, is always the same. His mind is engaged in a rapt contemplation of the thought, of the thought, of the thought of his name, his ineffable, effable, F and ineffable, deep and inscrutable, singular name. The Old Gumbie Cat. I have a Gumbie cat in mind. Her name is Jenny Anydots. Her coat is of the tabby kind, with tiger stripes and leopard spots. All day she sits upon the stair, or on the steps, or on the mat. She sits and sits and sits and sits, and that's what makes a Gumbie cat. But when the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumbie cat's work is but hardly begun, And when all the family's in bed and asleep, she slips down the stairs to the basement to creep. She is deeply concerned with the ways of the mice. Their behavior's not good, and their manners not nice. So when she has got them lined up on the matting, she teaches them music, crocheting, and tatting. I have a Gumbie cat in mind, her name is Jenny Anydots. Her equal would be hard to find, she likes the warm and sunny spots. All day she sits beside the hearth, or in the sun, or on my hat. She sits and sits and sits and sits, and that's what makes a Gumbie cat. But when the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumbie cat's work is but hardly begun. As she finds that the mice will not ever keep quiet, she is sure it is due to irregular diet. And believing that nothing is done without trying, she sets straight to work with her baking and frying. She makes them a mouse cake of bread and dried peas, and a beautiful fry of lean bacon and cheese. I have a Gumbie cat in mind, her name is Jenny Anydots. The curtain cord she likes to wind, and tie it into sailor knots. She sits upon the windowsill, or anything that's smooth and flat. She sits and sits and sits and sits, and that's what makes a Gumbie cat. But when the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumbie cat's work is but hardly begun. She thinks that the cockroaches just need employment to prevent them from idle and wanton destroyment. So she's formed from that lot of disorderly louts a troop of well-disciplined, helpful Boy Scouts, with a purpose in life and a good deed to do, and she's even created a Beatles tattoo. So for old Gumbie cats let us now give 3 cheers, on whom well-ordered households depend, it appears. I'm not sure which one this one is, but Egret has 3 names as well, of which I know 2. Growltiger's Last Stand. Growltiger was a bravo cat who traveled on a barge. In fact, he was the roughest cat that ever roamed at large. From Gravesend up to Oxford he pursued his evil aims, rejoicing in his title of the Terror of the Thames. His manners and appearance did not calculate to please. His coat was torn and seedy. He was baggy at the knees. One ear was somewhat missing, no need to tell you why. And he scowled upon a hostile world from one forbidding eye. The cottagers of Rotherhithe knew something of his fame. At Hammersmith and Putney people shuddered at his name. They would fortify the hen house, lock up the silly goose, when the rumor ran along the shore, Growltiger's on the loose. Woe to the weak canary that fluttered from its cage. Woe to the pampered Pekingese that faced Growltiger's rage. Woe to the bristly bandicoot that lurks on foreign ships, and woe to any cat with whom Growltiger came to grips. But most to cats of foreign race his hatred had been avowed. To cats of foreign name and race no quarter was allowed. The Persian and the Siamese regarded him with fear, because it was a Siamese had mauled his missing ear. Now on a peaceful summer night all nature seemed at play. The tender moon was shining bright, the barge at Molesey lay. All in the balmy moonlight it lay rocking on the tide, and Growltiger was disposed to show his sentimental side. His bucko mate, Grumbuskin, long since had disappeared, for to the Bell at Hampton he had gone to wet his beard, and his boatswain, Tumble Brutus, he too had stolen away. In the yard behind the lion he was prowling for his prey. In the forepeak of the vessel Growltiger sate alone, concentrating his attention on the lady Griddlebone, and his rayfish crew were sleeping in their barrels and their bunks. as the Siamese came creeping in their sampans and their junks. Growltiger had no eye or ear for aught but Griddlebone, and the lady seemed enraptured by his manly baritone, disposed to relaxation and awaiting no surprise, but the moonlight shone reflected from 100 bright blue eyes. And closer still and closer the sampans circled round, and yet from all the enemy there was not heard a sound. The lovers sang their last duet in danger of their lives, for the foe was armed with toasting forks and cruel carving knives. Then Gilbert gave the signal to his fierce Mongolian horde. With a frightful burst of fireworks, the Chinks they swarmed aboard. Abandoning their sampans and their pullaways and junks, they battened down the hatches on the crew within their bunks. Then Griddlebone she gave a screech, for she was badly scared. I am sorry to admit it, but she quickly disappeared. She probably escaped with ease, I'm sure she was not drowned, but a serried ring of flashing steel Growltiger did surround. The ruthless foe pressed forward in stubborn rank on rank. Growltiger, to his vast surprise, was forced to walk the plank. He who 100 victims had driven to that drop, at the end of all his crimes was forced to go kerflip, kerflop. Oh, there was joy in Wapping when the news flew through the land. At Maidenhead and Henley there was dancing on the Strand. Rats were roasted whole at Brentford and at Victoria Dock, and a day of celebration was commanded in Bangkok. And this from T.S. Eliot's book is titled The Song of the Jellicles. Jellicle cats come out tonight, Jellicle cats, come one, come all. The Jellicle moon is shining bright, Jellicles come to the Jellicle ball. Jellicle cats are black and white, Jellicle cats are rather small, Jellicle cats are merry and bright, and pleasant to hear when they caterwaul. Jellicle cats have cheerful faces, Jellicle cats have bright black eyes. They like to practice their airs and graces, and wait for the Jellicle moon to rise. Jellicle cats develop slowly, Jellicle cats are not too big. Jellicle cats are roly-poly, they know how to dance a gavotte and a jig. Until the Jellicle moon appears, they make their toilette and take their repose. Jellicles wash behind their ears, Jellicles dry between their toes. Jellicle cats are white and black, Jellicle cats are of moderate size. Jellicles jump like a jumping jack, Jellicle cats have moonlit eyes. They're quiet enough in the morning hours, they're quiet enough in the afternoon, reserving their terpsichorean powers to dance by the light of the Jellicle moon. Jellicle cats are black and white. Jellicle cats, as I said, are small. If it happens to be a stormy night, they will practice a caper or two in the hall. If it happens the sun is shining bright, you would say they had nothing to do at all. They are resting and saving themselves to be right for the Jellicle moon and the Jellicle ball. I mean, what a fun book. Definitely worth reading the whole thing. But I will spare you. And we have a few more to get to. This next piece from Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats is titled Mr. Mistoffelees. You ought to know Mr. Mistoffelees, the original conjuring cat. There can be no doubt about that. Please listen to me and don't scoff. All his inventions are off his own bat. There's no such cat in the metropolis. He holds all the patent monopolies for performing surprising illusions and creating eccentric confusions. At prestidigitation and at legerdemain, he'll defy examination and deceive you again. The greatest magicians have something to learn from Mr. Mistoffelees' conjuring turn. Presto, away we go, and we all say, oh, well, I never was there ever a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mistoffelees. He is quiet and small, he is black, from his ears to the tip of his tail. He can creep through the tiniest crack, he can walk on the narrowest rail. He can pick any card from a pack, he is equally cunning with dice. He is always deceiving you into believing that he's only hunting for mice. He can play any trick with a cork, or a spoon, or a bit of fish paste. If you look for a knife or a fork, and you think it is merely misplaced, you have seen it one moment and then it is gone, but you'll find it next week lying out on the lawn, and we all say, oh, well, I never was there ever a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mistoffelees. His manner is vague and aloof. You would think there was nobody shyer, but his voice has been heard on the roof when he was curled up by the fire. And he's sometimes been heard by the fire when he was about on the roof. At least we all heard somebody who purred, which is incontestable proof of his singular magical powers. And I have known the family to call him from the garden for hours while he was asleep in the hall. And not long ago this phenomenal cat produced 7 kittens right out of a hat, and we all said, oh, well, I never did you ever know a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mistoffelees. Yeah, obviously they had to make a musical out of this. Next, we have Macavity, the mystery cat. If you'll excuse me 1 second, Miss Pym, the yang to the cat's yin is whining.
Are you kidding me? What is your damn funny?
This one is not about you, Miss Tringle. It's about cats. I have to write a poem about Miss Pym. Macavity, the mystery cat. Macavity's a mystery cat. He's called the hidden paw, for he's the master criminal who can defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, Macavity's not there. Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. He's broken every human law, he breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, Macavity's not there. You may seek him in the basement, you may look up in the air, but I tell you once and once again, Macavity's not there. Macavity's a ginger cat. He's very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought. His head is highly domed. His coat is dusty from neglect. His whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. And when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity, for he's a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by-street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime's discovered, then Macavity's not there. He's outwardly respectable, they say he cheats at cards, and his footprints are not found in any file of Scotland Yards. And when the larder's looted, or the jewel case is rifled, or when the milk is missing, or another peak's been stifled, or the greenhouse glass is broken, and the trellis past repair, aye, there's the wonder of the thing, Macavity's not there. And when the Foreign Office find a treaty's gone astray, or the Admiralty lose some plans and drawings by the way. There may be a scrap of paper in the hall or on the stair, but it's useless to investigate. Macavity's not there. And when the loss has been disclosed, the Secret Service say, it must have been Macavity, but he's a mile away. You'll be sure to find him resting, or a licking of his thumbs, or engaged in doing complicated long division sums. Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. There never was a cat of such deceitfulness or suavity. He's always has an alibi, and one or two to spare. At whatever time the deed took place, Macavity wasn't there. And they say that all the cats whose wicked deeds are widely known, I might mention Mungo Jerry, I might mention Griddlebone, are nothing more than agents for the cat who all the time just controls their operations, the Napoleon of crime. You're reading this, I feel like I know how Lin-Manuel Miranda felt reading that biography of Hamilton. It's like, this has got to be a musical. This next piece, I believe we have two left, is titled Gus, the Theater Cat. Gus is the cat at the theater door. His name, as I ought to have told you before, is really Asparagus. That's such a fuss to pronounce that we usually call him just Gus. His coat's very shabby, he's thin as a rake, and he suffers from palsy that makes his paw shake. Yet he was, in his youth, quite the smartest of cats, but no longer a terror to mice and to rats, for he isn't the cat that he was in his prime, though his name was quite famous, he says, in its time. And whenever he joins his friends at their club, which takes place at the back of the neighboring pub, he loves to regale them, if someone else pays, with anecdotes drawn from his palmiest days. For he once was a star of the highest degree. He acted with Irving, he's acted with Tree, and he likes to relate his success on the halls, where the gallery once gave him 7 cat calls. But his grandest creation, as he loves to tell, was Fire for a Fiddle, the Fiend of the Fell. I have played, so he says, every possible part, and I used to know 70 speeches by heart. I'd extemporize backchat, I knew how to gag, and I knew how to let the cat out of the bag. I knew how to act with my back and my tail. With an hour of rehearsal, I never could fail. I'd a voice that would soften the hardest of hearts, whether I took the lead or in character parts. I have sat by the bedside of poor little Nell. When the curfew was rung, then I swung on the bell. In the pantomime season, I never fell flat, and I once understudied Dick Whittington's cat. But my grandest creation, as history will tell, was Fire for a Fiddle, the Fiend of the Fell. Then if someone will give him a toothful of gin, he will tell how he once played a part in East Lynne. At a Shakespeare performance he once walked on Pat, when some actor suggested the need for a cat. He once played a tiger, could do it again, which an Indian colonel pursued down a drain, and he thinks that he still can, much better than most, produce blood-curdling noises to bring on the ghost. And he once crossed the stage on a telegraph wire to rescue a child when a house was on fire. And he says, now these kittens, they do not get trained as we did in the days when Victoria reigned. They never get drilled in a regular troop, and they think they are smart just to jump through a hoop. And he'll say, as he scratches himself with his claws, well, the theater's certainly not what it was. These modern productions are all very well, but there's nothing to equal, from what I hear tell, that moment of mystery when I made history as Fire for a Fiddle, the Fiend of the Fell. And finally, from Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot, The Addressing of Cats. You've read of several kind of cat, and my opinion now is that you should need no interpreter to understand their character. You now have learned enough to see that cats are much like you and me, and other people whom we find possessed of various types of mind. For some are sane, and some are mad, and some are good, and some are bad, and some are better, some are worse, but all may be described in verse. You've seen them both at work and games, and learnt about their proper names, their habits and their habitat, but how would you address a cat? So first, your memory I'll jog, and say, a cat is not a dog. Now dogs pretend they like to fight, they often bark, more seldom bite, but yet a dog is, on the whole, what you would call a simple soul. Of course I'm not including peaks, and such fantastic canine freaks. The usual dog about the town is much inclined to play the clown, and far from showing too much pride is frequently undignified. He's very easily taken in. Just chuck him underneath the chin, or slap his back, or shake his paw, and he will gambol and guffaw. He's such an easy-going lout. He'll answer any hail or shout. Again I must remind you that a dog's a dog, a cat's a cat. With cats, some say, one rule is true: don't speak till you are spoken to. Myself, I do not hold with that. I say you should address a cat, but always keep in mind that he resents familiarity. I bow, and taking off my hat, address him in this form: "Oh, cat." But if he is the cat next door, whom I have often met before, he comes to see me in my flat, I greet him with an "Oops-a-cat." I've heard them call him James Buzz James, but we've not got so far as names. Before a cat will condescend to treat you as a trusted friend, some little token of esteem is needed, like a dish of cream, and you might now and then supply some caviar, or Strasburg pie, some potted grouse, or salmon paste. He's sure to have his personal taste. I know a cat who makes a habit of eating nothing else but rabbit, and when he's finished, licks his paws, so's not to waste the onion sauce. A cat's entitled to expect these evidences of respect, and so in time you reach your aim, and finally call him by his name. So this is this, and that is that, and there's how you address a cat. Oh wait, I have one more. Oh yeah. This is a short one. This is the final one in this collection. From what I understand, he wrote a couple of more after this was published. This, by T.S. Eliot, is titled Cat Morgan Introduces Himself. I once was the pirate who sailed the high seas, but now I've retired as a commissionaire, and that's how you find me a-taking my ease and keeping the door in a Bloomsbury Square. I'm partial to partridges, likewise to grouse, and I favor that Devonshire cream in a bowl, but I'm allus content with a drink on the house and a bit of cold fish when I done me patrol. I ain't got much polish, me manners is gruff, but I've got a good coat, and I keep meself smart, and everyone says, and I guess that's enough, you can't but like Morgan, he's got a kind art. I got knocked about on the Barbary coast, and me voice, it ain't no sich mellifluous organ, but yet I can state, and I'm not one to boast, that some of the gals is dead keen on old Morgan. So if you have business with Faber, I'll give you this tip, and it's worth a lot more. You'll save yourself time, and you'll spare yourself labor, if just you make friends with the cat at the door. How Miss Dringle. It's all true. All right, Miss Pam. Just keep on chilling, girl. Just keep on chilling. All right, next, I'm going to read a few by a prolific Reddit commenter whose username is SchnoodleDoodleDo, who often, at the trigger of a line which he or she then quotes, will compose a poem. And they are always about animals, and they are always adorable. So I'm going to read you a few about cats. The first comes from a page or a link that was titled, "Do your cats sleep in bed with you?" And then at the posing of the line, "They allow me the privilege." SchnoodleDoodleDo composes, "Now I lay me down to sleep. Our humans close, we gonna keep. We first to lay upon the bed, to warm the spot they rest their head. They privileged then to join us there, as we allow the bed to share. And all the worries of the day, in perfect dreams, will slip away." And next, from a post that was titled, "A Male Cat Taking Care of Kittens Abandoned by Their Mom," someone commented, "The dad that stepped up." And Schnoodle writes, "I am the cat. I'll try my best to help these frightened babies rest. And though I'll never be a mom, I'll try to keep them nice and calm. I cannot do what mamas do, but listen, babes, I still love you. I'll give them what they never had, and they will learn that I am dad." And next by SchnoodleDoodleDo, from a post titled, "Love How They Just Don't Care." Definitely was some kind of picture of a cat, as most of the internet is. Someone commented, "Those rules don't apply to royalty. Please do not sit on the chair. Does not apply to me. For I am cat, and I don't care, 'cause I am royalty. And as I loaf upon my throne, no human I'll allow is meant for me, is mine alone. Before me you may bow." And now from a post that was titled, "My girlfriend of 7 years passed away, and all I got were these lousy cats." And at the stating of this line, "I hope you guys help each other heal." Schnoodle writes, "So something's really different, but we try and carry on. We both are kinda wondering if Mama's really gone. I think we saw you crying, but we didn't want to stare. We're cats, and we have feelings, so we check if you're still there. We liked the mama best of all. We know she loved us too. She promised you'd take care of us, if it was only you. This must be broken-hearted. We don't like the way we feel. But maybe, for the mama, we can help each other heal." And finally, another by SchnoodleDoodleDo. This from a post titled, "Neighbor's cat has Alzheimer's, forgets that he doesn't live here." And the comment that sparked this poem, "No worries, I know his parents, and he always gets home safe." Schnoodle writes, "I am the cat, sometimes forget if I am someone else's pet. I think I am, but maybe not. Do I live here? 'Cause I forgot. You humans are so good to me. Sometimes a distant meow-marie. No worries, I'll be on my way. Each day another Groundhog Day. I haven't seen you in a while, but when I do, you always smile. Oh, hi, it's me. How are you, friend? Please make sure I get home again." Now, something I read that I found interesting. A short, very short essay by Edgar Allan Poe titled Instinct versus Reason, a Black Cat. The line which demarcates the instinct of the brute creation from the boasted reason of man is, beyond doubt, of the most shadowy and unsatisfactory character, a boundary line far more difficult to settle than ever the northeastern or the Oregon. The question whether the lower animals do or do not reason will possibly never be decided, certainly never in our present condition of knowledge, while the self-love and arrogance of man will persist in denying the reflective power to beasts, because the granting it seems to derogate from his own vaunted supremacy. He yet perpetually finds himself involved in the paradox of decrying instinct as an inferior faculty, while he is forced to admit its infinite superiority, in 1,000 cases, over the very reason which he claims exclusively as his own. Instinct, so far from being an inferior reason, is perhaps the most exacted intellect of all. It will appear to the true philosopher as the divine mind itself, acting immediately upon its creatures. The habits of the lion ant, of many kinds of spiders, and of the beaver have in them a wonderful analogy, or rather similarity, to the usual operations of the reason of man. But the instinct of some other creatures has no such analogy, and is referable only to the spirit of the deity itself, acting directly, and through no corporal organ, upon the volition of the animal. Of this lofty species of instinct, the coral worm affords a remarkable instance. This little creature, the architect of continents, is not only capable of building ramparts against the sea with a precision of purpose and a scientific adaptation and arrangement from which the most skillful engineer might imbibe his best knowledge, but is gifted with what humanity does not possess, with the absolute spirit of prophecy. It will foresee, for months in advance, the pure accidents which are to happen to its dwelling, and aided by myriads of its brethren, all acting as if with one mind, and indeed acting with only one mind, with the mind of the Creator, will work diligently to counteract influences which exist alone in the future. There is also an immensely wonderful consideration connected with the cell of the bee. Let a mathematician be required to solve the problem of the shape best calculated in such a cell as the bee wants, for the two requisites of strength and space, and he will find himself involved in the very highest and most abstruse questions of analytical research. Let him be required to tell the number of sides which will give to the cell the greatest space, with the greatest solidity, and to define the exact angle at which, with the same object in view, the roof must incline, and to answer the query, he must be a Newton or a Laplace. Yet since bees were, they have been continually solving the problem. The leading distinction between instinct and reason seems to be that, while the one is infinitely more exact, the more certain, and the more far-seeing in its sphere of action, the sphere of action in the other is of the far wider extent. But we are preaching a homily when we merely intended to tell a short story about a cat. The writer of this article is the owner of one of the most remarkable black cats in the world, and this is saying much. For it will be remembered that black cats are all of them witches. The one in question has not a white hair about her, and is of a demure and sanctified demeanor. That portion of the kitchen which she most frequents is accessible only by a door, which closes with what is termed a thumb latch. These latches are rude in construction, and some force and dexterity are always requisite to force them down. But Puss is in the daily habit of opening the door, which she accomplished in the following way. She first springs from the ground to the guard of the latch, which resembles the guard over a gun trigger, and through this she thrusts her left arm to hold on with. She now, with her right hand, presses the thumb latch until it yields, and here several attempts are frequently requisite. Having forced it down, however, she seems to be aware that her task is but half accomplished, since, if the door is not pushed open before she lets go, the latch will again fall into its socket. She, therefore, screws her body round so as to bring her hind feet immediately beneath the latch, while she leaps with all her strength from the door, the impetus of the spring forcing it open, and her hind feet sustaining the latch until this impetus is fairly given. We have witnessed this singular feat 100 times at least, and never without being impressed with the truth of the remark with which we commenced this article, that the boundary between instinct and reason is of a very shadowy nature. The black cat, in doing what she did, must have made use of all the perceptive and reflective faculties which we are in the habit of supposing the prescriptive qualities of reason alone. So Spot is sentient. And now, a poem by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, titled The Cat. The cat licks its paw and lies down in the bookshelf nook. She can lie in a sphinx position without moving for so many hours, and then turn her head to me and rise and stretch, and turn her back to me and lick her paw again as if no real time has passed. It hasn't, and she is the sphinx with all the time in the world in the desert of her time. The cat knows where flies die, sees ghosts in motes of air, and shadows in sunbeams. She hears the music of the spheres, and the hum in the wires of houses, and the hum of the universe in interstellar spaces, but prefers domestic places, and the hum of the heater. Miss PM. Don't worry, girl. We're getting close. Oh, Miss PM, I hope you're not reflective of my viewership. Ready to be done. Next, we have a poem, excuse me, by Elizabeth Bishop. Lullaby for the Cat. Now. Minnow, go to sleep and dream. Close your great big eyes. Round your bed events prepare the pleasantest surprise. Darling Minnow, drop that frown. Just cooperate. Not a kitten shall be drowned in the Marxist state. Joy and love will both be yours, Minnow. Don't be glum. Happy days are coming soon. Sleep and let them come. And now one by William Butler Yeats, Miss PM, titled The Cat and the Moon. The cat went here and there, and the moon spun round like a top, and the nearest kin of the moon, the creeping cat, looked up. Black Minnaloushe stared at the moon, for, wander and wail as he could, the pure cold light in the sky troubled his animal blood. Minnaloushe runs in the grass, lifting his delicate feet. Do you dance, Minnaloushe, do you dance, when two close kindred meet? What better than call a dance? Maybe the moon may learn, tired of that courtly fashion, a new dance turn. Minalouche creeps through the grass, from moonlit place to place. The sacred moon overhead has taken a new phase. Does Minalouche know that his pupils will pass from change to change, and that from round to crescent, from crescent to round they range? Minalouche creeps through the grass, alone, important and wise, and lifts to the changing moon his changing eyes. And now a poem by Sylvia Plath, Elsa Mason and her 11 cats. Ella Mason, sorry. Old Ella Mason. Old Ella Mason keeps cats, 11 at last count, in her ramshackle house off Somerset Terrace. People make queries on seeing our neighbor's cat haunt, saying something's addled in a woman who accommodates that many cats. Rum and red-faced as a watermelon, her voice long gone to wheeze and seed, Ella Mason, for no good reason, plays hostess to Tabby, Tom, and Increase, with cream and chicken gut feasting the palates of finical cats. Village stories go that in olden days Ella flounced about minx thin and haughty, a fashionable beauty, slaying the dandies with her emerald eyes. Now, run to fat, she's a spinster whose door shuts on all but cats. Once we children sneaked over to spy Miss Mason, napping in her kitchen paved with saucers, on Auntie Macasser's tabletop, cupboard shelf. Cats lounged brazen, one gruff-timbered purr rolling from furred throats, such stentorian cats. With poke and giggle, ready to skedaddle, we peered agog through the cobwebbed door, straight into yellow glare of guardian cats crouched round their idol, while Ella drowsed, whiskered with sleek face, sly wits, Sphinx queen of cats. Look, there she goes, Cat Lady Mason, we snickered as she shambled down Somerset Terrace, to market for her dearies, more mammoth and blowsy with every season. Miss Ella's got loony from keeping in cahoots with 11 cats. But now turned kinder with time, we mark Miss Mason, blinking, green-eyed and solitary, at girls who marry, demure ones, lithe ones, needing no lesson that vain jades sulk single down bridal nights, accursed as wild cats. Misty. And now a few on our topic by Ted Hughes. The first, titled Esther's Tomcat. Day long this tomcat lies stretched flat as an old rough mat, no mouth and no eyes. Continual wars and wives are what have tattered his ears and battered his head. Like a bundle of old rope and iron, sleeps till blue dusk, then reappear his eyes, green as ringstones. He yawns, wide red, fangs fine as a lady's needle and bright. A tomcat sprang at a mounted knight, locked round his neck like a trap of hooks, while the knight rode fighting its clawing and bite. After hundreds of years, the stains there on the stone where he fell, dead of the tom, that was Barnborough. The tomcat still Growltiger's old odd dogs on the quiet. Will take the head clean off your simple pullet, is unkillable. From the dog's fury, From gunshot fired point blank he brings his skin whole, and whole from owlish moons of bekittenings among ash cans. He leaps and lightly walks upon sleep, his mind on the moon. Nightly over the round world of men, over the roofs go his eyes and outcry. And now one by Ted Hughes titled Of Cats. A heart constituted wholly of cats, even as the family nose derives. From father and mother a child inherits, and every cat gets fully 9 lives. Wildest cats with scruff cats, queenly cats crowned, they jig to violins, they go stately, where a torched pageantry celebrates a burial or crowning of a cat, or sing sweetly at your ears and in harmony left with right, till the moon bemoods, till the new, to the full, only look up, possessing night, catic bacchanal, a world of wild lamps and walling, a world gone to the cats, every cat of the heart out, and darkness and light, a cat upon a cat. They have outwitted our nimblest wits, one who, one night, sank a cat in a sack with a stone to the canal bottom, under the bridge, in the very belly of the black, and hurried a mile home, found that cat on the doorstep waiting for him. So are we all held in utter mock by the cats. And finally, by Ted Hughes, Cat and Mouse. On the sheep-cropped summit, under hot sun, the mouse crouched, staring out the chance it dared not take. Time and a world too old to alter the 5-mile prospect. Woods, villages, farms, hummed its heat-heavy stupor of life. Whether to 2 feet or 4, how our prayers contracted, whether in God's eye or the eye of a cat. And now, a short fairy tale from Philip Pullman's Fairy Tales from the Brothers Grimm. This tale is titled, The Cat and the Mouse Set Up House. Once there was a cat who struck up a friendship with a mouse. He went on at such length about the warmth of the affection he felt for her, how kind she was, how prudent, how neatly she twirled her tail, and so on, that the mouse finally agreed to set up house with him. "But we must make provision for our winter," said the cat. "If we don't, we'll go hungry just when we need food most of all. And a little mouse like you can't go out foraging in the cold. Even if you didn't die of exposure, you'd be sure to get caught in a trap." The mouse thought this advice was excellent, and they put their money together and bought a pot of fat. The next question was where to put it. They discussed the problem at great length, and finally the cat said, "You know, I don't think there's anywhere safer than the church. No one would dare to steal anything from there. We can put it under the altar, and we won't touch it till we really need it." So they hid the pot in the church. But it wasn't long before the cat felt a craving for the delicious fat. So he said to the mouse, "Oh, by the way, I've been meaning to tell you, my cousin has just given birth to a little boy kitten, white all over with brown spots." "Oh, how lovely," said the mouse. "Yes, and they've asked me to be godfather. Do Do you mind if I leave the housekeeping to you for a day and go and hold him at the font? No, of course not, said the mouse. There's sure to be some nice food afterwards. If you get a tasty mouthful, think of me. I'd love to taste that sweet red christening wine. Of course, the cat's story was a pack of lies. He had no cousin at all, and no one who knew him would dream of asking him to be a godfather. What he did was go straight to the church, creep under the altar, open the pot of fat, and lick the skin off the top. Then he strolled out as calm as you please and went up to his usual haunt on the rooftops. There he lay in the sun, licking his whiskers and enjoying the memory of the fat. It was evening before he went home. Welcome home, said the mouse. Did you have a nice day? What did they call the child? Top off, said the cat very coolly, inspecting his claws. Top off? That's a strange thing to call a kitten, said the mouse. Is it an old family name? I can't see anything strange about it, said the cat. It's no odder than Crumb Thief, which is what each of your godchildren is called. Not long afterwards, the cat felt a yearning for the fat again and said to the mouse, My dear friend, can I ask a favor? I've been asked to be godfather to another kitten, and since he has a white ring around his throat, it would be wrong to refuse. Can you keep house alone once more? I'll be back this evening. The good mouse said yes, she didn't mind at all, and wished the kitten well. The cat set off at once and crept along behind the town wall to the church, where he slunk inside and licked up half the pot of fat. Nothing tastes as good as what you eat by yourself, he thought. When he got home, the mouse said, What did they call the child? Half gone, said the cat. Half gone? What sort of name is that? I've never heard of such a thing. I'm sure it's not in the Almanac of Saints. The fat had tasted so rich and unctuous that the cat's mouth was soon watering again. All good things come in threes, he said to the mouse. What do you think? I've been asked to be godfather yet again. This time the child is totally black. There's not a white hair on his body part, apart from his paws. That's very rare, you know. It only happens once every few years. You will let me go, won't you? Top off, half gone, said the mouse. Such odd names they have in your family. They make me wonder, they really do. Oh, fiddle-dee-dee, said the cat. You sit indoors from morning till night, twiddling your tail, and all kinds of nonsense comes into your head. You ought to get out in the fresh air. The mouse wasn't sure about that, but while the cat was away, she worked hard to clean their house and make everything neat and tidy. Meanwhile, the cat was in the church, busily licking out the pot of fat. He had to scoop the very last of it out with his paws, and then he sat there admiring his reflection in the bottom of the pot. Emptying the pot is such sweet sorrow, he thought. It was late at night by the time he waddled home. As soon as he came in, the mouse asked what name had been given the third child. I suppose you won't like this one either, said the cat. They called him All Gone. All Gone, cried the mouse. Dear, oh dear, I'm worried about that. Honestly, I am. I've never seen that name in print. What can it mean? Then she wrapped her tail around herself and went to sleep. After that, no one asked the cat to be godfather. And when the winter arrived and there was no food at all to be found outside, the mouse thought of their pot of delicious fat safely hidden under the altar in the church. She said, Come on, cat, let's go and find that pot of fat we put away. Think how good it'll taste. Yes, said the cat, you'll enjoy it as much as sticking that dainty little tongue of yours out of the window. So they set out, and when they got to the church, the pot was still there, to be sure, but of course it was empty. Oh, 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 said the mouse, I'm beginning to see a pattern here. Now, I know what sort of a friend you are. You were no godfather. You came here and guzzled it all up. First top off. Be careful, said the cat. Then half gone. I warn you. Then all, one more word, and I'll eat you too. Gone, said the mouse, but it was too late. The cat sprang on her and gobbled her up in a moment. Well, what else did you expect? That's just the sort of thing that happens in this world. Well, this is just the sort of thing that happens in this world, too. We read, we pat on our dogs, we think about cats, and we finish with a piece by Oscar Wilde titled The Sphinx. In a dim corner of my room for longer than my fancy thinks, a beautiful and silent sphinx has watched me through the shifting gloom. Inviolate and immobile, she does not rise, she does not stir, for silver moons are naught to her, and naught to her the suns that reel. Red follows gray across the air, the waves of moonlight ebb and flow, but with the dawn she does not go, and in the nighttime she is there. Dawn follows dawn, and nights grow old, and all the while this curious cat lies couching on the Chinese mat, with eyes of satin rimmed with gold. Upon the mat she lies and leers, and on the tawny throat of her flutters the soft and silky fur, or ripples to her pointed ears. Come forth, my lovely seneschal, so somnolent, so statuesque. Come forth, you exquisite grotesque, half woman and half animal. Come forth, my lovely languorous sphinx, and put your head upon my knee, and let me stroke your throat and see your body spotted like a lynx. And let me touch those curving claws of yellow ivory and grasp the tail that like a monstrous asp coils round your heavy velvet paws. 1,000 weary centuries are thine, while I have hardly seen some 20 summers cast their green for autumn's gaudy liveries. But you can read the hieroglyphs on the great sandstone obelisks, and you have talked with basilisks, and you have looked on hippogriffs. Oh, tell me, were you standing by when Isis to Osiris knelt, and did you watch the Egyptian melt her union for Antony, and drink the jewel-drunken wine, and bend her head in mimic awe, to see the huge proconsul draw the salted tunny from the brine? And did you mark the Cyprian kiss white Adon on his catafalque, and did you follow Amonalch, the god of Heliopolis? And did you talk with Thoth, and did you hear the moon-horned Io weep, and know the painted kings who sleep beneath the wedge-shaped pyramid? Lift up your large black satin eyes, which are like cushions where one sinks. Fawn at my feet, fantastic sphinx, and sing me all your memories. Sing to me of the Jewish maid who wandered with the Holy Child, and how you led them through the wild, and how they slept beneath your shade. Sing to me of that odorous green eve, when crouching by the marge, you heard from Adrian's gilded barge the laughter of Antinous, and lapped the stream and fed your drouth, and watched with hot and hungry stare the ivory body of that rare young slave with his pomegranate mouth. Sing to me of the labyrinth in which the twy-formed bull was stalled. Sing to me of the night you crawled across the temple's granite plinth, when through the purple corridors the screaming scarlet ibis flew in terror, and a horrid dew dripped from the moaning mandragores, and the great torpid crocodile within the tank shed slimy tears, and tear the jewels from his ears, and staggered back into the Nile. And the priest cursed you with the shrill psalms, as in your claws you seized their snake, and crept away with it to slake your passion by the shuddering palms. You, who were your lovers? Who were they who wrestled for you in the dust? Which was the vessel of your lust? What leman had you every day? Did giant lizards come and crouch before you on the reedy banks? Did griffons with great metal flanks leap on you in your trampled couch? Did monstrous hippopotami come sidling toward you in the midst? Did gilt-scaled dragons writhe and twist with passion as you passed them by? And from the brick-built Lycian tomb what horrible chimera came, with fearful heads and fearful flame, to breed new wonders from your womb? Or had you shameful secret quests, and did you harry to your home some nereid coiled in amber foam, with curious rock crystal breasts? Or did you, treading through the froth, call to the brown Sidonian for tidings of Leviathan or Behemoth? Or did you, when the sun was set, climb up the cactus-covered slope to meet your swarthy Ethiop, whose body was of polished jet? Or did you, while the earthen skiffs dropped down the gray Nilotic flats at twilight, and the flickering bats flew round the temple's triple glyphs, steal to the border of the bar and swim across the silent lake and slink into the vault and make the pyramid your lupanar, till from each black sarcophagus rose up the painted swathed dead? Or did you lure unto your bed the ivory-horned Tragelaphos? Or did you love the god of lies, who plagued the Hebrews and was splashed with wine unto the waist? Or Pasht, who had green barrels for her eyes? Or that young god, the Tyrian, who was more amorous than the dove of Ashtaroth? Or did you love the god of the Assyrian, whose wings, like strange transparent talc, rose high above his hawk-faced head, painted with silver and with red, and ribbed with rods of orichalc? Or did huge Apis from his car leap down and lay before your feet big blossoms of the honey-sweet and honey-colored nenuphar? How subtle secret is your smile! Did you love none then? Nay, I know, great Ammon was your bedfellow. He lay with you beside the Nile. The river horses in the slime trumpeted when they saw him come. Odorous was with Syrian galbanum, and smeared with spikenard and with thyme. He came along the river bank like some tall galley argent sailed. He strode across the waters, mailed in beauty, and the waters sank. He strode across the desert sand. He reached the valley where you lay. He waited till the dawn of day, then touched your black breasts with his hand. You kissed his mouth with mouths of flame. You made the horned god your own. You stood behind him on his throne. You called him by his secret name. You whispered monstrous oracles into the caverns of his ears. With blood of goats and blood of steers, you taught him monstrous miracles. White Ammon was your bedfellow. Your chamber was the steaming Nile, and with your curved archaic smile you watched his passion come and go. With Syrian oils his brows were bright, and widespread as a tent at noon. His marble limbs made pale the moon and lent the day a larger light. His long hair was 9 cubits span, and colored like that yellow gem, which hidden in their garments' hem the merchants bring from Kurdistan. His face was as the must that lies upon a vat of new-made wine. The seas could not ensaffirine the perfect azure of his eyes. His thick, soft throat was white as milk and threaded with thin veins of blue, and curious pearls like frozen dew were broidered on his flowing silk. On pearl and porphyry pedestaled, he was too bright to look upon, for on his ivory breast there shone the wondrous ocean emerald, that mystic moonlit jewel, with some diver of Colchian caves, had found beneath the blackening waves, and carried to the Colchian witch. Before his gilded galliot ran naked vine-wreathed corybants, and lines of swaying elephants knelt down to draw his chariot, and lines of swarthy Nubians bear up his litter as he rode down the great granite-paven road beneath the nodding peacock fans. The merchants brought him steatite from Sidon in their painted ships. The meanest cup that touched his lips was fashioned from a chrysolite. The merchants brought him cedar chests of rich apparel bound with cords. His train was borne by Memphian lords. Young kings were glad to be his guests. 100 shaven priests did bow to Ammon's altar day and night. 100 lamps did wave their light through Ammon's carven house. And now foul snake and speckled adder with their young ones crawl from stone to stone, for ruined is the house, and prone the great rose marble monolith. Wild ass or trotting jackal comes and couches in the mouldering gates. Wild satyrs call unto their mates across the fallen fluted drums. And on the summit of the pile the blue-faced ape of Horus sits, and gibbers while the fig tree splits the pillars of the peristyle. The god is scattered here and there, deep hidden in the windy sand. I saw his giant granite hand still clenched in impotent despair, and many wandering caravan of stately Negroes, silken shawled, crossing the desert halts appalled before the neck that none can span. And many a bearded Bedouin draws back his yellow-striped burnous to gaze upon the Titan thews of him who was thy paladin. Go, seek his fragments on the moor, and wash them in the evening dew, and from their pieces make anew thy mutilated paramour. Go, seek them where they lie alone, and from their broken pieces make thy bruised bedfellow, and wake mad passions in the senseless stone. Charm his dull ear with Syrian hymns. He loved your body, oh, be kind. Pour spikenard on his hair, and wind soft rolls of linen round his limbs. Wind round his head the figured coins, stain with red fruits those pallid lips. Weave purple for his shrunken hips, and purple for his barren loins. Away to Egypt, have no fear. Only one God has ever died. Only one God has let his side be wounded by a soldier's spear. But these, thy lovers, are not dead. Still by the 100-cubit gate, dog-faced Anubis sits in state with lotus lilies for thy head. Still from his chair of porphyry, gaunt Memnon strains his lidless eye across the empty land, and cries each yellow morning unto thee. And Nilus, with his broken horn, lies in his black and oozy bed, until thy coming will not spread his waters on the withering corn. Your lovers are not dead, I know. They will rise up and hear your voice, and clash their cymbals, and rejoice, and run to kiss your mouth, and so set wings upon your argosies, set horses to your ebon car, back to your Nile. Or if you are grown sick of dead divinities, follow some roving lion spoor across the copper-colored plain. Reach out and hail him by the mane, and bid him be your paramour. Couch by his side upon the grass, and set your white teeth in his throat, and when you hear his dying note, lash your long flanks of polished brass, and take a tiger for your mate, whose amber sides are flecked with black, and ride upon his gilded back in triumph through the Theban gate, and toy with him in amorous jests, And when he turns and snarls and gnaws, oh, smite him with your jasper claws, and bruise him with your agate breasts. Why are you tarrying? Get hence. I weary of your sullen ways. I weary of your steadfast gaze, your somnolent magnificence. Your horrible and heavy breath makes the light flicker in the lamp, and on my brow I feel the damp and dreadful dews of night and death. Your eyes are like fantastic moons that shiver in some stagnant lake. Your tongue is like a scarlet snake that dances to fantastic tunes. Your pulse makes poisonous melodies, and your black throat is like the hole left by some torch or burning coal or Saracenic tapestries. Away, the sulphur-colored stars are hurrying through the western gate. Away, or it may be too late to climb their silent silver cars. See, the dawn shimmers round the gray, gilt-dialed towers, and the rain streams down each diamonded pane, and blurs which tears the wannish day. What snake-tressed fury fresh from hell, with uncouth gestures and unclean, stole from the poppy drowsy queen and led you to a student's cell? What songless, tongueless ghost of sin crept through the curtains of the night, and saw my taper burning bright, and knocked, and bade you enter in? Are there not others more accursed, wither with leprosies than I? Are Abana and Parfar dry, that you come here to slake your thirst? Get hence, you loathsome mystery, hideous animal, get hence. You wake in me each bestial sense, and make me what I would not be. You make me creed a barren sham. You wake foul dreams of sensual life, and Attis with his blood-stained knife were better than the thing I am. False Sphinx, be reedy Styx, old Charon, leaning on his oar, waits for my coin. Go thou before, and leave me to my crucifix, whose pallid burden, sick with pain, watches the world with wearied eyes, and weeps for every soul that dies, and weeps for every soul in vain. Thank y'all. See y'all next time.